Hey guys, it's Jackie from Jack Gets Lost on a Book Hole, and here is another Strikebackathon video. I am doing the topic for this video is books series that you didn't finish. Some of the series I have here are books that a series I DNF'd a long time ago, but I couldn't do it. I mean, these are series I just couldn't continue with, but there are a lot of books that I think that I had no problem with, but there's only a handful of books that I just couldn't deal with. There is one on here, there's one that I did continue, and I did finish it, one series, but now I regret it. And because it was just so cheesy and stupid. But, okay, so there's not many, like I said, there's only a handful of these. But, okay, so the first one I have here is House of Night series by Kristen and PC Cast, a mother and daughter team, which I give them props for writing the series. I mean, the writing was good, and some of the aspects of the story were good. This is a vampire series about a teenage girl, Zoe Redbird, who, instead of getting bitten, she gets marked as a fledgling vampire. She isn't a vampire, but she's going to become a vampire. And there's a school, the House of Night, hence the title, that those marked will go to train to become vampires. And if they do not survive the change, they'll die, and they won't become vampires anymore. And the way they do the vampire thing is, like I said, you're marked instead, but there's also, instead, it's just, it's more mythological, and you're not just the monster that craves blood and that wants to become human again. There's more of a mythology to this. There's an actual race. It's really cool. It's actually cool, and at least that aspect of the series is. And I liked I liked the mythology, and I liked some of the secondary characters. At first, I liked Zoe. I liked her character, but then after a while, she got on my nerves. I mean, normally I'm against hating on the female protagonist because she's annoying, but this girl I wanted to slap. I couldn't stand her. I got bored with her. And it bugged me. What really pissed me off is that the girl had way too many boyfriends. I mean, it's one thing with Selena's situation, and she flirted with Dorian a little bit, and and let's see, and then she dated Kale, but then Kale broke her heart and hurt someone is part of the reason that her friend gets hurt. So she breaks off with him, and she can't forgive him for what happened to her friend. And then currently she is with Rowan. But that's typical for YA. But Zoe went and got through a lot of guys. First, there was her old high school boyfriend. He was a bit of a drunk. He was a typical punk, athletic type, and he was a complete idiot. But then later on in the series, I started to like her, to like him. I started to, think he was cool and stuff. So then there was, she broke it off with Heath when she goes to the school, and Heath decides to track her down and come back and sober her up and get her back. Well, at the same time, she is dating Eric, who she meets him in the first book, Mark, and he's the popular, handsome, nice guy, kind of like Chad Michael Murray type, or the character in the Cinderella story. And he's dating the popular queen bee of the school, Aphrodite, who at first I could not stand. But as the series progressed, I started to prefer her over Zoe. I actually liked her because she's like Cordelia. She's like the Cordelia of Cordelia Chase of the House of Night. She was a bitch, but she was also a blunt and very honest bitch. And sometimes she said what we didn't want to hear. And so Zoe, like I said, so she ends up going out. She gets Eric. She wins Eric over because she's a nice, sweet, naive young girl. who's the hero of the story, kind of the chosen one of the series and of the storyline. She's all nice and everything, and Eric takes notice of her, and the two of them finally hook up by the end of the first book. Because he doesn't like Aphrodite anymore because she's a bitch. But then, either the third or the second book, there's a teacher at her school. He's a handsome, younger teacher. He's like the teacher that you would have a crush on, that the handsome one, the young, handsome teacher that all the teenage girls obsess over. And he flirts, and Zoe and him start flirting. He flirts with her, and she flirts back. While she's dating Eric. And this guy is probably like in his 20s, and she's only 16. Now, granted, there are situations like in Buffy the Vampire Slayer where Buffy and Angel meet, and she was only 16 at the time. So, but that was better. That story was 10 times more interesting, more compelling, romantic, despite the underage thing. And, and in the case of, that series, Angel tried to push her away. He did the typical guy thing that, I'm no good for you, stay away from me kind of thing, which is typical. It's something that I tend to roll my eyes at, like, constantly. But anyway, so, this time it wasn't, but in this case it was not cute. Or it was not sweet, not romantic. It wasn't forbidden love. I mean it was, but in the literal sense, yes, it was. But Zoe hooks up with him. Not only does she flirt with him, she actually has sex with this teacher. She has sex with him. And of course you find out he's working for the bad guy, Neferet, who wants to eradicate the humans, or at least enslave the humans and let the vampires take over. And she totally, and Zoe, she actually has sex with this guy. Well, she's dating Eric, and you can't blame Eric for getting pissed off and heartbroken to the point of going all evil, and because there's this whole part of the plot is this whole issue of some of the students become vampires with the red marks, and they crave blood, because in this world the vampires technically don't crave human blood, but there are these vampires who have red marks instead of the blue marks that the Phlegians have, and they crave human blood, and they have the typical traits of vampires, they can't go out, they can only go out at night. The Phlegians can go out during the day, but only during overcast, when there's no sun. So they still can't go in direct sunlight. And they're also, tired and everything during the day, and, if they are out during the day, it's basically like if you stay up after midnight, kind of situation. And, Eric becomes one of the red vampires, I think. And he kind of goes all teen evil for a while. But then he eventually becomes a good guy again. But I can't entirely blame him, because Zoe cheated on him. She has her own free will. And don't give me that BS about, she was manipulated. Please. She was a 16-year-old girl, yes. But she knew it was wrong. She had a boyfriend who loved her, who was crazy about her. And he was a decent guy, although he kind of turned out to a douchebag when he went all evil. But still, he was a decent guy. And Zoe cheated on him. What, for the hot, handsome, older man that was her teacher? That is illegal, first off, because she's still underage. I don't care if they're vampires. She is underage. And like I said, don't give me that crap about her. Oh, she was manipulated. Please. I don't let her have the victim card, okay? She's not a victim. Yeah, she may not be a bitch, and she may not flirt with him in the evil, I know what I'm doing kind of way. She was stupid. It was more the stupid kind of way. And I don't feel any sympathy for her. So, that's really what pissed me off about the series. And then, the villain just doesn't die. I mean, this series just drags on, keeps going. In fact, the authors, like I said, I give props to them for what they did. I mean, they did a great, the writing was good, and the secondaries were good. The secondary characters were good characters. And, I liked the mythology that they established of the vampire lore. It wasn't just the typical vampire storyline. So I thought that was cool. And the thing with the bulls, where the one bull was represented light and one bull represented dark, and how the whole idea of the elements Because one of the things about why Zoe is is the chosen one is because she can control all 5 elements: earth, fire, water, air, and spirit. She can control all those elements. But her group of friends each represent one of the elements. And she's spirit. So I thought that was a cool concept too. And like I said, I like the secondary characters. I started to like Aphrodite. She was cool. Aphrodite and Stevie Ray were probably my 2 favorite characters. Oh, and Stark, which he was one for boyfriends too. I liked him better than Eric. But I felt bad for him. I felt bad for both him and Heath. Because, and that was the other thing. They brought Heath back. They killed him and then they brought him back. And let him possess like they have, in the mythology, they have the queen of the vampires, and she had a consort who had wings and stuff like that, and like Heath is brought back, and his soul is put into the body of this guy, Canola. His name is Canola, I think. And I think he was brought back into Canola or someone else. Or I'm confused actually. I don't remember. Because there are a lot of characters in that series. There was Canola. Canola worked for, but actually she might have brought back another villain type character that she was trying to control. I can't remember. But I know maybe he did possess Canola. I don't know. Maybe his soul was put into Canola's body. I cannot remember. Dang it. But yeah, they brought him back. It's like, are you kidding me? Really? Seriously, you're gonna bring him back? Why? I mean, doesn't Zoe have enough boyfriends? So there's that whole internal struggle of her recognizing Heath, even though no one else does, and like that's the only reason. It's like the conflict. It adds more drama to the conflict and everything. And they kept writing, and they were also writing spin-off series. But I couldn't do it. The series was it never ended. I was like, why won't you just finish? I mean, it got to the point where every time I ended the book, I was like, finally, it's done. You know, I mean, is this the last book? And that turns out, coming soon, book whatever. It's like, really? Can't you just end it already? And I think when I finally stopped, though, I think there were only a few more books that they were going to write, and then they were going to finally end it. But I just couldn't do it. Okay, so the next series that I won't finish, that I already got rid of, is The Lowlands of Scotland. This was a series that was recommended to me by my friend Kathy. We both kind of she was part of my group of friends that had a massive crush on Robert Carlyle, who was the same actor who plays Rumpelstiltskin. So this was around the time I still liked Once Upon a Time. And obviously, like, Robert Carlyle is a Scottish actor. So I started liking Scottish actors. Like, Ewan McGregor was another one I liked. Mike Myers, I like. But, like, so I started, and I was watching shows. Like, I wanted to watch more Scottish-related shows. I did get into Outlander, although I've since stopped the show because I didn't think we'd have stars when we moved here. The Stars channel, so I'm just currently reading the books, and now I don't know, I don't want to get into it, because, like, I don't want to, although, if we have the Stars channel, I guess we have On Demand, I think, so I can watch it on demand. I think we still have Stars, but anyway, so I guess I could watch it on demand if we still have the channel, so I can watch it, if I wanted to. So then I was asking for recommendations for a series that takes place in Scotland. Now, I'm not a big romance fan if the plot is dominated by romance, but yes, this is a romance series. There's a lot of books, and I found out after I bought it that the book I had was in the middle of the series. So there were 2 books before it and a few books after it. Actually, I got 2. I was just going to buy the covers, and so I guess I kind of do cover buys. In the description. Well, actually not. Well, no, it wasn't just by the covers. I read the descriptions. And, I figured I liked them. I was like, oh, I want to get these 2. I like these 2. Because I assumed it was a companion series. I didn't know that there was a certain I didn't realize that it did have a certain order that you had to read them in. It wasn't just little connections. it was a big connection between the books that I got and the other books. So so I read it. It was good. It was well written. It was nice and very sweet, but it was boring to me, and the characters got on my nerves. And the one I was rooting for to get the guy, didn't, because it was about two sisters. It's basically like if Melanie Wilkes and Scarlett O'Hara were sisters. You know, that's what it kind of reminded me of. Because they were both fighting over the one guy. The one sister was the nice, sweet one, and then the other one was the independent rebel that was kind of a bitch at times and a brat. But I kind of like the bratty characters when it comes to female characters. Like Scarlett is one of my favorites. So it was well written, it was enjoyable, but it just was kind of boring, and it's like that's all it was about, was the romance. And like I said, I wanted the one sister to get the guy, the bitchy one, because even though she was a brat, I wanted her to get the guy. And so I couldn't continue. I just was bored with it. It was nice, a little nice experience, and I got to learn some Scottish. Like I actually took a picture because they had a list in the back of all the Scottish terms. So I took a picture of that and printed that out. And or copied it and printed it. So I could have that for if I write a Scottish character or a character that's supposed to be Scottish. So yeah, it was boring. I mean, I feel bad because my friend recommended it to me, but Okay, so next is the Mayfair Chronicles by Anne Rice, which is a trilogy, a pretty hefty book. Even though it's only a trilogy. The books are big, they're over 500 pages. I have a complicated relationship with Anne Rice. Like, I love her writing style and her attention to detail, and all the stuff she comes up with is really good, but it was too much. And plus, I kind of cheated and read the last couple of pages, and I was not satisfied with the ending. Granted, it's a trilogy, so I'm sure I would have been satisfied of the ending by the whole trilogy. I mean, at least I think I would. But it was just too much, because it was a really long book, and it was like, was it worth reading that whole book and continuing the trilogy? And maybe it would have been if I had given it a chance, but I just wasn't in the mood for that kind of story. So I DNF'd it. Like I said, I like her writing. Her writing style is good, and I like the dark stories that she writes, but I've just moved on from that kind of storyline. I like dark fantasy, and I like epic fantasy. Like, not paranormal, but actual fantasy. So, next is also another series by Anne Rice, another trilogy by Anne Rice, but under a different name. And that is the Sleeping Beauty trilogy. Don't get excited. It's not that romantic. It's not a fairy tale or a fairy tale retelling. Or it kind of is, but Sleeping Beauty, it's actually kind of close to the original fairy tale. So Sleeping Beauty wakes up and is resurrected by the prince. But it turns out that the prince and his mother, the queen, will kidnap prince and princesses and turn them into sex slaves. And the whole time I was reading it, I read up to halfway through the second book, and the whole time I was just getting pissed off, and I wanted the character to escape. I hated these characters, and I hated how they turned sex into this horrible, disgusting thing. I will not read erotica partly because of that. Not that all erotica was about sex. I know that erotica isn't about sex slaves. It's just about relationships where both people involved get pleasure from physical pain. They both consent to it, and they both want it, and there's a safe word if they don't like it, and if they're not and so there are rules to BDSM relationships. But there are rules in erotica. But this was too much and just pissed me off, and I just kept reading it just to get away, see the characters escape, but I couldn't do it. It was trash to me, and I ended up DNFing this book. I don't know where it went, but I couldn't do it. It would just disturb me and it pissed me off the whole time. And I didn't want to waste my time getting angry at a book. You know, it's one thing if you're angry because a character makes a stupid decision, or you don't agree with their decision, or you don't like how other characters are treating them, because that's typical in books. Which yes, I didn't like how they were treating the characters, but it wasn't just, like, there was no justification for it except for pervertedness. So, okay, so the next one, this one I might come back to, and I might, because it isn't a bad series, it's not an inappropriate series, it's fun, it has a lot of good qualities, and it's beloved by everybody. I think almost everybody. I mean, there's probably people that don't like it, but that is a series of unfortunate events. I read the first 4 books, and they were good. I enjoyed them, they were entertaining, but my problem is the writing style. I had a hard time. I can't get into it. And, you know, the thing about middle grade, I know they're writing for a younger age group. But sometimes I get kind of annoyed because I am an older person. I'm well aware and everything, and you don't have to dumb it down. I don't like things being dumbed down for me. But I know that this series and other middle grade level books are meant for younger readers. So, you know, it wouldn't be fair of me to not like something because of that. So I might continue the series and read the next, all the way up to book 13, I don't know. But I do want to watch the show. I want to watch the Netflix show. I mean, of course, people are saying, well, you should read the books first. But I don't think that's necessary. I don't think, yes, books always offer things that a movie or a TV show can't offer. Like, they take out things, especially in movies. And TV shows tend to elaborate more and put in things that weren't in the book. So, and yes, I know, traditionally, yes, the books are usually better than the screen adaptations. But I don't think I should feel pressured to read the books if I don't want to read them. I shouldn't have to feel guilty for watching the show when I haven't read the rest of the books. That's a little unfair to me, like, oh, you have to read them. I mean, I know they're not law and they can't control me, but I still, like, there's still that guilt feeling sometimes that you didn't read the books. But it's, like, not enough the guilt feelings aren't. Yes? Yes, but not yet. I'll be down a little bit. But it's, you know, it's not, but of course the guilt isn't enough to get me to want to read. I mean, I will read the series if I want to, the rest of it, but I just don't, you know, I don't feel like it. So it's not a bad series. It's not poorly written or anything. It doesn't have stuff in there that makes me angry. It's just, I just couldn't get into the books, but I do want to check out the show. Okay, so the next one is The Inheritance Cycle. Now, this one is not a bad thing. This one is just that it's been so long since I've read the first 3 books. So it's kind of a lame excuse, but I probably won't. Maybe one day I'll read it, just like maybe one day I'll continue with a series of unfortunate events, but it's been just so long that I don't know if I'm interested. I mean, maybe if my nephew does, I am going to give him the book when he's old enough to read, because he's only like 2 years old right now. Or 1 year old. He's not 2. Wait, yeah, he is 2. He's not 3 yet. He'll be 3 this year. So he's not old enough to read a book like The Inheritance Cycle. But maybe when he is old enough, we'll read it at the same time. I could always potentially borrow the books from the library. Because this library does have, although this library's I hear there's gonna be some changes going on with this library, like it's gonna expand or gonna move location. The only bad thing is if it does move location, it might not be as close to me. The walking distance might take longer, but if it moves location. If it expands, that means more books. Maybe a YA children's section might be bigger, but so this is not that it's a bad book. It's been so long that I didn't start rereading the first book, but then I was like, you know what, I'm not into this right now. So, okay, so the last one I have here is Dorothy Must Die. So, this wasn't a bad book. I read the first 2 books. It was okay. I was entertained by it. And I really liked how this series is basically where Dorothy. It's about this girl Amy Gum who was brought to Oz the same way Dorothy was, and you find out that Dorothy came back and has decided she wants to rule Oz, and she becomes a bit of a tyrant, and she's crazy, and and she kills, and all the main people, like Glinda is going all evil, has gone all evil, and to the point of creepy with her perma smile and everything, and she's like perky evil kind, like she seemed like kind of like Umbridge. She reminds me of Dolores Umbridge from Order of the Phoenix. So which I actually, well, first let me continue telling this, summarizing it. And Amy Gum, it turns out she is the other girl from Kansas who's the only one who can defeat Dorothy. She is, or no, actually, she's not a chosen one, but she's actually like, she shows up and they're like, oh, you can help us assassinate Dorothy. We can get you in because she's from Kansas. She happens to be from Kansas, and they're automatically, the witches that are still alive are assuming that, oh, they can relate, so she can manipulate Dorothy. She can become her best friend and everything, and get close to her. So she trains to be a witch, and there's of course a romance between her and one of the male witches, who is kind of a bit of a bad boy type. So, I like the series. I thought it was cute. The first two books were very entertaining and everything. I thought maybe it's just because the series was just okay. Like, I was entertained by it. Maybe that's why I decided to do that. Because it wasn't bad written. It wasn't a bad book. It wasn't written poorly. There weren't elements in the book that I hated. It was actually good and entertaining. So, like, I mean, I think because I didn't have more, I think part of the problem is because I only had the first two books in the series. Like, I'm gonna have to keep buying the books. And it's just, I wasn't into it enough to want to do that. I did like, I liked how Dorothy and Glinda were evil. Because it's like, as an adult, I'm thinking, no one should be that perky without being evil. I mean, I know she's supposed to be the good, Glinda the good, but I just like how this character turns out to be psycho and not that great. And actually, you find out in the series that there's another witch that looks exactly like Glinda, but she's actually the good one. And the Glinda from the original movies and books and stuff is the bad one. And Glinda has a twin sister who's really a genuinely good person. She's not like a crazy psycho like Glinda, like the real Glinda. I can't remember. She had a name. It was similar to Glinda's name. I don't remember what it was, but and there was this whole fact that you don't know which one is the good one and which one is the evil one kind of scenario, evil twin kind of thing. So, but anyway, I liked that, Dorothy was a psycho and a tyrant. She was not just some sweet little girl that gets lost in Oz and must follow the yellow brick road and has the ruby slippers, which actually, the silver slippers, because in the movie they were made, in the original 1939 movie, they're ruby because it was Technicolor and you could see red better than silver. But actually, they're supposed to be silver slippers. So I liked it. I've always liked this tale, the whole Wizard of Oz story. But for some reason, I can't be for some reason, because this goes back to being the type, because I care what people think and I want to be I'm competitive and want to be part of the popular. I want to have something that's mine, that's special to me, that I'm an expert on, and everyone comes to me knowing how much I love it. So, because I grew up with Wizard of Oz storyline, it's always been part of my life. So that one was kind of the one I chose, because I always loved that story. It was always part of my life. But unlike the one who inspired me to find a specific children's story that was for me, that meant something to me, and it does mean something. It generally does mean something to me. But unlike this booktuber, Haley, in Bookland, she had Alice in Wonderland, but I'm not one of those people who constantly buys versions of Wizard of Oz. Or, I don't know, there was another one. It wasn't her, but another booktuber who hers is Peter Pan. And was a little bit of my more petty, insecure, jealous side coming out. But I have since and feeling like I want to have a series that kind of belongs to me and that everyone knows that I'm the go-to person for knowledge on that series. And like I'm the expert on that series or that book, not just series. So yeah, one of my insecurities showing itself. Okay, so those are the series that I won't finish for the topic. I mean, those are books. Those are series that I won't finish. So I wish I could, like I said, I would love to give a shout out to a smaller booktuber, but I don't know which ones are the smaller booktubers. So if you are a smaller booktuber, please in the comments, let me know if you are, and I will give you a shout out because I'm gonna keep trying to do these strike back video topics. So if you liked, as usual, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you're just passing through, please subscribe to my channel if you liked the video and liked all my other videos. And I will talk to you guys later. Alright, bye.